Okay, so it's time for the aftermath. This is Jerry and the Goddesses, part 12. Trigger warnings for this part. Perfectly consensual adult stuff that's still not entirely right. God, that's like the story of my life. Here we go. I left the debriefing at 2:12 in the morning, finally. It was the last of my scheduled debriefings after being kidnapped during my first ever field assignment. For the first few, they had isolated me at a hotel in McLean, ordering me to order in all my meals and sending the interviewers to me. For the last few, they'd had Gary and I together and asked us the same questions we'd been asked before. Fortunately, we'd agreed on a story because Jerry's pet eldritch abomination and two ancient goddesses, one of whom is his girlfriend and the other his BFF, came to rescue us, seemed like the kind of answer that would leave us both out of a job. So we told a harrowing tale of fighting our way through the ranks of our kidnappers, common criminals it turned out, and the Taliban forces who'd arrived to purchase us. Gary's wounds helped sell it. I stressed Gary's bravery and ferocity, which really wasn't much of a stretch. The guy was basically a shorter, more laid-back Arnold Schwarzenegger, only not the actor, but the character he played over and over in 80s action movies, and with a southern accent instead of an Austrian one. Gary, for his part, seemed to have an odd sense of humor because he embellished my role quite a bit. To hear him tell the tale, I'd kept my cool and calmly, quote, laid down 7.62 millimeter hate on them fuckers right beside him. That was bullshit, though. I spent most of the time pissing my pants and screaming. I mean, I did shoot one guy, which was kind of cool and really scary, but that's it. It was cool because, according to Gary, it meant I was blooded and could honestly claim to be a warrior now. But it was scary for two reasons. First, because I kept wondering if thinking it was so cool meant I was a bad person, and much more importantly, because Inanna simply would not get off of me ever since. You might think that sounds like a pretty nice thing, but you have to understand that Inanna is an obsessive, libidinous in the extreme, highly creative and adventurous, has a truly odd and quirky sense of humor, and she has magical powers. She wanted to relive that moment and celebrate it in all sorts of weird ways. We got busy on top of a manifested copy of the guy's dead body. Fortunately, she left out the BO and smell of blood and poop most of the bodies it reeked of, in illusory copies of the street and in even weirder ways. More than once, she pointed out the spot on her own forehead where I'd shot the guy, and then grew a you-know-what's-it there, and insisted that I use it. And it's really hard to tell her no. So I did it. Don't don't look at me like that. I have never had a girlfriend before. She likes to keep me happy and terrified, and I like to reciprocate. Well, at least with the happy part. Besides, I can honestly say that I have skull-fucked a goddess now. Can you? I didn't think so. So don't judge me. My interviewers had walked in on us more than once, and Sarissa had needed to come wipe their memories because, well, yeah. You can imagine how that would look in my file. Walked in on Agent Williams having intercourse with a woman who had a vagina on her forehead, using said vagina while on top of the corpse of what appeared to be a dead Taliban fighter. Wouldn't exactly prime me for anything but a trip to the nut house. So now I was under orders from the staff psychiatrist to go home and relax for a couple of weeks. It was also strongly suggested that I should seek therapy. Instead, I intended to cuddle with Sarissa as much as possible and play with my little brother Peter a bit. And Anna wouldn't be around, and I had mixed feelings about that. It was a good thing in that I honestly needed a break from her libido. When I say her needs are inhuman, I mean it. It's not natural. And I strongly suspected she was using magic on me as well, because I swear I've grown an inch or two down there. And apparently I didn't need a refractory period. I mean, I wanted one, but I didn't need one. But it bothered me because she was going on a trip with Gary. Gary with the thick, luxurious beard, the muscular arms, the cool head under fire, and the raunchy sense of humor that complemented her so well. Sure, they were supposedly going to render some terrorist guy in Iran, and Anna having magicked herself a file as a contractor for the company. And it was, in her words, just for the shooting and stuff. because she hadn't been getting her fill of combat since coming back and wanted to kill someone. But it still bothered me. I might complain about her libido, but I was pretty fond of her. In any event, I left the George Bush Center for Intelligence in the early morning hours, Sarissa by my side, and climbed into the car. I spotted a dead streetlight that told me that Ixie was still doing his protective watching thing. He'd been following me around fairly surreptitiously ever since the excitement in Kandahar. We went first to my hotel room, where I undressed and climbed immediately into bed. Sarissa quickly followed me, and we lay there spooning for a while. I was really looking forward to actually sleeping through several nights in a row, jealousy notwithstanding. "Jerry," she said, right as I was about to drift off. I asked. "You're poking me." I opened my eyes and looked at my hands in the dim light. No, my fingernails were trimmed. "What?" I asked. "You're poking me," she repeated. "What do you mean?" I yawned, a big, long one. And then suddenly I was completely awake because Sarissa had reached down and grabbed me. You know, down there. Suddenly I understood. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. It's just that, well, it does its own thing. I was really trying to go to sleep. I'm sure if we just ignore it, it'll go away." She didn't let go. Okay?" I asked. "You know that sex isn't really in my wheelhouse, right?" "Yes, sir, I know. I'm sorry. I'm really not trying to. It just happened." "The thing is, Jerry, Inanna has all this ego. It's a side effect of being beautiful and tough and scary and sexy. She thinks she's the epitome of her portfolio just because she's the embodiment of it. But the thing is, Jerry, that I'm the embodiment of knowledge, which means I know everything she's ever done, and I know all the things that were done in her name." She rolled over then, and I suddenly became keenly aware of nipples pressing against me. Nipples, which Sarissa normally didn't have. Was I dreaming? And though I'm not normally the competitive type, I do enjoy teaching people a good lesson. Because you know what else I know? She pushed me over and straddled me. I was so confused. This is not what I expected, and I didn't know how to react. Well, part of me didn't seem to have any confusion about how to react, but my brain wasn't that part. I know all the things she's never done because they've never occurred to her or any of her worshippers, ever. In retrospect, that was hands down the weirdest, most bizarre night of my entire life. The end.